Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to attend my first Montgomery County virtual home and garden show. This has actually been a really exciting experience and something interesting. I've sure learned a lot about Zooming because I haven't really done a lot of Zooming in the last 6 months like everybody else has. And so it's just been a learning process for everybody, but I think it's all been good. I mean, hey, just think about it. You know, we're all sitting in the comfort of our home. We didn't have to fight traffic and all the crazy people out there. So I'm going to be doing my presentation today on decluttering or uncluttering your life and home organizing. I want this to be really more of an engaging, fun, interactive session with you guys. I do have some slides that I'm going to be showing, and in fact, behind the scenes, I have Charlie, who's been our amazing videographer. He's just worn many hats trying to get everybody settled in all this Zooming and everything that we've had to do. So he's actually going to be helping with advancing the slides. I'm not going to be controlling that. Oh, and also before I forget, if you can put your name in the chat box and your email information, that way at the end or at some point I'm going to do a drawing, and the drawing is going to consist of, you will get a free home assessment that could be virtual or in home, and it will also include 2 hours of organizing. So if you're interested in that, please go ahead and put your name in there and your email address. And oh, and at the end, I'm going to have question and answers, but during the whole presentation, if you would like to ask me a question, just unmute yourself and just go ahead and ask it, because I want you to, like I said, I want this to be interactive as well. So
let me chime in for just a second. People,
okay.
You're not able to unmute yourself, but if you'll go ahead and type in the chat section, which if you go to the bottom of the screen in the middle portion, you'll see the chat window. Type your question or just type in, I have a question there, and I can unmute you.
Great, thank you, Charlie. All right, let's get started, and we can go on to the first slide then. All right, so just a little bit about me. As you can see, these are my precious grandbabies. Huck is 2, Piper's 5 months old. This is where I spend most of my time, and my free time is spending time with them. But as far as my business, I started my business about 8 years ago. It's just something that I've just really been passionate about. I was an educator for about 10 years. I loved teaching, but I don't know, there was just something missing in my life. So I just pretty much took a leap of faith and decided, you know what, I'm going to start my own business. And I've learned that organizing really isn't just about organizing people's stuff. It's really about building relationships, you know, making it fun, having a sense of humor in the middle of everyone's chaos, and just it's really also learning about each other. And one of my mottos is a place for everything and everything in its place. Next slide. So as you can see here, some of you probably feel like you're just like living under clutter, and you're just like, you just have no idea what to do, how to get started. And really the number one reason why people are disorganized is due to clutter. And I find that what happens is when people try to start organizing, they have great intentions, but what happens is they try to organize at the same time as they're purging. Purging is like the first thing that needs to happen. So actually what happens is they just start shifting things around. Everything starts moving around, but they're not really getting rid of stuff. And it really just becomes, you know, a lot of chaos more than anything. Next. I have worked with many clients, and many of them, you know, you just feel inadequate about organizing. You just feel like, I just can't do that. And not only is this affecting you or whoever is, you know, the adults in the family, I mean, it affects the children as well. And, you know, kids feel embarrassed because, you know, they feel like they can't have anybody come over because of all the chaos. And really, that's kind of where that's where the underlying problem starts, is there's some underlying issues going on in their life. Next. And I have learned, and this is what I love about working with people, is everyone has a story. I mean, everyone has a story, and we all have issues in our life at some point, whether it might be, you know, health issues, depression, it might be a marriage, divorce, birth, death, moving, a new job. And it's just, these just come into play all the time, and people don't realize that their issues in their life are really causing them to have all the clutter in their life. And that's really where I come into play, and we start creating a game plan. Next. So as I said before, in this picture, I'm sure all of you have heard of Marie Kondo. Marie Kondo, she became really famous, I guess you could say, because of her Netflix videos that came out last year. And she has lots of great points that I totally agree with. And one of her things is that she asks people is, does it bring you joy? And I kind of like to think that too, but for me, I like to think about, does it add value? You know, because sometimes maybe it doesn't really bring you joy, but you know what, it's something that you really need. And so the first thing that, as I'm working with people when it comes to organizing, is we stop and think about sorting and purging first. I'm over here in this picture, and I'm helping a photographer with her cabinet. And so what I'm doing is I'm basically taking everything out of the cabinet, and I'm placing it in tubs, and I'm labeling them for her to be able to see what she has, so that it makes it so much easier for her to make decisions. I kind of do a little bit of the, you know, making it easy, and then she can come in and go, yes, I need this, and no, I don't need that. Then I take all the things that she's keeping, and then that's where the actual organizing takes place. Next slide. So in this slide, I'm showing various ways to organize depending on the room and your space. Another problem people have is that they want to buy pretty organizers. And I'm not saying you can't use pretty organizers. It's just that when people go onto Pinterest and they look at all these really cool things, and they're like, oh, I really like that, I really like this, and they go out and buy everything, they get it home, and it's like they don't know, what am I supposed to do with this? Because it becomes not functional. It's pretty, but it's not really working in their spaces. So really, my go-to totes are really the clear organizers. If you look at the one where it says the garage weather tight totes, those are kind of clear organizers. Well, also, I go to the Container Store and I buy all my clear organizers because they also have clear lids, and I just find them to be, they're good quality, they're easy to stack, they're easy to label, but you can see what's in them. And when you see what's in them, it just makes it easier on the brain so that you can, you know, find what you're looking for. Next slide, please. So using functional products, as I just said. So in this picture, what I'm showing is, this wasn't an apartment. And so we're creating some pantry space for a client who, you know, apartments don't have quote, quote, pantries, and a lot of homes don't either. And so I look at her space and I go, okay, great, this is your space. I know what works and what doesn't work. And so Lazy Susans work great because on a top shelf, you can spin it, you can see what's there. You're not losing valuable space where everything's pushed into the back. And same with the pull-out drawers. She has some super long cabinets. And so these long cabinets made it really difficult to organize because, again, most things get pushed in the back and you can't see everything. But if you have some pull-out drawers, you can pull the drawers out and be able to see what you have without everything falling over in the back. And it just becomes frustrating. Next slide. All right, labeling. I can't even overemphasize the importance of labeling. I've worked with a lot of clients and like, you know what, just don't label. It's just really not important. You know, I don't have time for that. I'm like, I can't even tell you. You're not going to label. You say you might label, but you probably won't because it's just time. And And I say, please just let me label for you, because it really helps you to be able to find the things that you're looking for. Look at this right here. Yes, they're clear containers. Yes, you can kind of see what's in it, which is good. But imagine having labels on there too, walk into the room and being able to read the label and go, oh, great, that's what's in that container. And it just saves you so much time and frustration. Next slide. So some of you might be wondering, like, what type of services do I offer as a professional organizer? Well, I don't think there's any kind of space that I have not worked. I mean, I have done kitchens and pantries and closets and offices. I've helped people with packing and unpacking, lots of people with packing and unpacking, organizing, especially the elderly. The elderly, they're not capable of doing this, so I help them pack, get it all together, help them purge first, pack, then they get it moved, and then I help them unpack everything and organize everything. I've done garages, I've done classrooms, storage units, I've done barns, which people like, you've done barns. Well, it's really more like they're kind of more like a warehouse kind of thing, not like a horse barn, I guess you could say. All right, next slide. All right, so now we're going to kind of get into the some of my before and after pictures of some things that I've actually done. And these are actually photos that I've taken. They may not be the greatest photos, but they at least show you, kind of the before and after. So this particular one, it was a closet, and she had tons and tons of clothes of purses and shoes and jewelry, typical things that, us women always just tend to have a lot of stuff with. And so we went through and purged, sorted everything. She helped with the purging process. Then what was left, then I said, great. So let's figure out what are the best organizers to organize this, whether it was a purse organizer, a jewelry organizer, an organizer to put small purses in. And then I organized all her clothes. She wanted the clothes not really necessarily by color, but she wanted them organized by type, sleeveless, short sleeve, long sleeve, and also by, whether it was winter or summer. Next slide, please. Okay, maximizing closet space. So this closet actually was in an apartment, which actually this apartment had a really nice closet for an apartment, because most of them don't. And as you can tell here, again, well, actually, she wasn't even, to be honest with you, she wasn't even part of the purging process. She just basically gave me a key to her place and said, hey, go in, do your magic, and put everything up. So that's what I did. I really didn't do a lot of purging for her because I didn't know what to let go, but that was okay because I was able to arrange things in an organized fashion. So she had so many shoes. So I kind of put the shoes on the door, back of the door are the ones I thought she would wear the most. And then all the dressy shoes that I thought she wouldn't wear that much, I put those up on the shelf in shoe organizers so that she could actually see them. And then if you see on the floor, there's another shoe organizer. And she already had, that was an existing one that she had. And that kind of was good for boots and things that were a little bit taller. And then I used a purse organizer for her purses. And sometimes purse organizers work. For her, it did. Sometimes I just like to put purses in a big tote and put them on the floor for easy access, but she didn't have a whole lot, so this one worked. And then I put all her jeans in an organizer that you see hanging, and that worked really good for the jeans that she had. Next slide. So this was a desk that I organized. Actually, it wasn't just a desk. There was more to this whole process than the desk. It was a closet. It was, this gentleman had papers, literally, he's an 80-year-old man. He literally had papers back from college. And so I went through all his papers and helped him purge a lot of things that he just did not need anymore. So this picture is really just his desk in his office. which I helped organize, you know, with his papers and creating filing systems, and tried to use a little, you know, the nooks and crannies that he had here to put certain things, you know, so that it was easier for him to find things. But again, papers is the same as paper organizing is the same thing as organizing things. You've got to sort all the papers, and then I sort them by categories, and then it makes it easier for the client to figure out what they need and don't need. And then from there, I organize all the papers either in a filing system, put them in binders, you know, create a mail system for them as well, because actually mail is where all the papers start when you think about it. Next slide. So this one here was a craft. It was a closet, but she had lots and lots of craft things. So actually for me, kind of doing the craft, I love crafts, so doing the crafts is actually fun for me. So as you can see, I used some clear containers that she had at the top and put all her yarn in there. I can't really remember exactly what her business was, but she, you know, whether it's lots of ribbon and your typical type stuff that, you know, that people might use for crafting. But this was quite a while ago, so I can't really remember exactly what her business was, but it just shows you how I was able to take all she had and organize. I really used the container, I mean, like the shelving she had, and I try to use people's existing things as much as possible, because I don't encourage them to have to spend a lot of money on products, but sometimes it really helps to use the right products to make things efficient. Next slide. So this was actually the barn I was talking about. And this is obviously just a section of the barn. So they just had a lot of random totes just sitting in the middle of this barn. And it just wasn't really efficient, because when you have to get something on the bottom, you got to take things off the top and then try to find it, and it just makes it hard. So I encouraged her to get some of these shelving, not expensive. That way we can put all the things on the shelving, makes it easier to go and get what you need. You're not having to take things on top of each other, they're not stacked up. And then try to always organize things by category. Try to keep all your tools together, all your lawn equipment together, that sort of thing. Next slide. All right, this one was kind of a slide that I kind of showed at the beginning here, kind of a before and after. So in the before here, it's like chaos. People like look at this and like, I don't even know what to do. Again, I took everything out. I sorted it by like item. I put the like items in, like all the papers together, all of the like items in different totes, and I labeled them. And then she went through and go, oh yeah, I need this, I don't need that. So we purged a lot. And then from there, I see she's got a certain amount of space here. She's a photographer. So I tried to use the containers she had, and then I added to them. A lot of papers, we use pull-out little containers where she had flyers and brochures that was easy for her to find. All her equipment is at the bottom. And then again, you know, labeling is the key. So she was super thrilled that we were able to use this cabinet that she had. She didn't really want to go buy something new, so we just basically used what she had. Next, pantries. Pantries, I love organizing pantries. I don't know why, because really organizing pantries is all about using the right type of products, and this is where I do encourage people to spend a little bit of money and buy things that are going to fit their space. Most people do have shelves that are about 10 to 12 inches deep, but remember that other slide where I showed you where I was organizing where it was super deep, and it really, there's a lot of thinking involved when you have deep shelves and what's going to work. But when you have narrow shelves, this is so much easier, because you can use, sometimes you don't even have to use can organizers, because you can just stack them and you can see them well. But you can see down here where I try to organize, used again a lot of her things that she had, put all the snack things together, all the cans together, all the pastas together, all the, you know, sweets together, or your baking things together. That's the key, is really putting all of your like things together to where, hey, you know, when you're looking for something and it's a baking thing, oh, it's bacon related, oh, I need to go to my baking area. Oh, it's snacks, you know, for kids, like down here on the bottom shelf, she had kids. So I made it accessible for the kids to be able to get their snacks easy, and they're not having to go on the top shelf and try to find something. Next slide. Okay, oh boy, so this one here was a challenge. This is one of the most challenging things I've ever done, but it was so rewarding for her, rewarding for me. It was a business. And so she was actually doing this to help her dad more than anything. She worked in the office, but the chaos just got too much. So again, I came in, I went through everything, I sorted all this stuff. I threw a lot of stuff that was just trash that I knew was trash, and got that out of the way. And then what she had left, you know, her supplies together, you know, her papers, you know, papers is like the #1 thing people struggle with. And there is ways to make it efficient. It's just creating the systems that's, you know, that are going to work. And her dad he couldn't even believe it. You know, she did it as kind of a surprise for him. I mean, he knew eventually what was going on. He was like, what's going on here? Because it took me probably, I don't know, it probably took me about, for this entire whole office complex, this is just a part of it. It probably took me a good, you know, 25 hours to get it totally complete. Next slide. Here's another closet. This is a closet. This was actually an elderly lady who really was not able to, she had dementia, and it really, really was a struggle for her to get everything organized. So her husband hired me, and I came in, and you can't really see the labels on these white cabinets, but I did put labels on them for her so that she could read the labels and she would know what was in them, because otherwise she would forget. So all the things that are visible were easy for her to see. And then I labeled the drawers, you know, with like socks and panties and things like that, and things that make sense to go on a drawer. Some jeans probably, and maybe some workout type stuff went in the drawers. But it just made her life so much easier to be able to come in and be able to find what she was looking for. Next. So this one here, I would have to say, was the most challenging garage I've ever done. It took me and my client 50 hours to do this. It's a 3-car garage. It's like an L shape, so you can't really see the back. They were a retired couple. They were awesome. They were so much fun to work with. And at first her husband's like, you're not going to touch my tools. And before you know it, I'm touching the tools and organizing them. But we went through all her stuff, went through everything, purged a lot of her adult children's things, got rid of stuff. We must have had to donate people come and recycle people come. I don't know how many times, 5 different times to come. She could finally get her car in the garage. She was so excited. She put little bumpers in the garage so she knew where the car would go. And the back is where her husband's little workshop is. You can't really see the tool area, but there's like a little workbench, and they had some Christmas stuff back there. And then the right-hand side, there was some shelves that you can't see. They're also organized, but this was, oh, and then they painted the floor. Look at the floor, they painted it. So it was just so cool to see the true transformation in this garage. Next slide. So our time is kind of running out, and I really want to make this interactive for you guys to where you can ask me some questions, but I also wanted to give you my information. This is my phone number, my cell number. You can text me, call me anytime. For those of you that don't have time to ask questions or maybe don't want to ask questions, you can still call me and text me. I'm a big texter. This is my korganizing.com is my website, and Kim at kimsorganizingsolutions.com is my email address. If you go to my booth on the Home and Garden Show booth, where you can go to all of the different vendors, I do have every vendor has a booth. And so if you go to my booth, I do have some before and after pictures and some videos and some information on some packages that I have for special packages for our virtual show. So feel free to go there and take a peek at what I have there, and look at all the other vendors' things too. Everybody's worked really hard on this, and there's lots of great workshops, and tomorrow we'll have another presentation at 4:30 on office organizing. I really appreciate y'all being here today. Thank you so much.